All right, addendum agenda items 2 through 30 now, minus 16 and 17, which are to be amended, and 23, which is to be canceled. Your motion on that, Councilman Templet?
I move.
Any objection to the adoption of addendum agenda items 2 through 30, minus 16 and 17, which are to be amended, and 23, which is to be canceled? On motion of Councilman Templet, seconded by Councilman Walker.
If I may, Council.
Yep.
Does this include number 14?
Yes.
Yeah, then I have to make an objection on 14 and ask that it be pulled out for discussion.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. We were going to vote on it, and then Councilman Banano would ask for that to be pulled out. Unless you have, you want to do it before we, okay.
Please.
Gotcha. All right, so let's take that one separately, Madam Clerk. I'll do it one more time. Any objection to the adoption of addendum agenda items 2 through 30, minus 16 and 17, which are to be amended, 23, which is to be canceled, and number 14, that's right? Yes, 14, which will be pulled for discussion on motion of Councilman Templet, seconded by Councilman Walker. Hearing none, so ordered. So now let's go to number 14, please, Madam Clerk.
A resolution creating the Jefferson Parish Homeless Task Force, designating the composition and duties of the task force, and providing for related matters.
Councilman Banano?
I'll move for discussion
Whoever would like to go.
purposes.
Go ahead.
I'll yield to my colleague, Mr. Impastato. You said you had wanted to discuss that.
Yeah, I certainly applaud, and I think there's probably, I don't want to be presumptuous, but I think there's a pretty unanimous understanding amongst the council members and the parish president that we've got a homeless issue in Jefferson Parish that needs to be dealt with. And I think all of us were at a forum recently on the West Bank held to address that very issue. My challenge, and I applaud and agree that whatever resources we can dedicate to addressing the issues we need to commit to, and I support that. I certainly support the idea of a task force to attempt to address the homeless issue. My concern is this seems to be focused on the building of a homeless shelter in Jefferson Parish. And when I read the verbiage of the resolution, my biggest concern, and actually calls that I've gotten from a number of constituents, are where's it going to go? Is this going in my neighborhood? Is this going by my business? Is this going? And it's difficult for me to think of a street, a neighborhood, a business that is prepared to deal with what comes with having a homeless shelter in Jefferson Parish. And that's my big concern is before we get to size, before we get to what it's like, we're asking our residents and our businesses to take on the burden of what comes with operating a homeless shelter. And that's, look, I think the risk we run is exacerbating the challenge in Jefferson Parish by bringing more and more homeless into it. It's not a crime to be homeless. I get it. It's also, and that's also why if you go down by the homeless shelters in New Orleans, you see come 8 o'clock in the morning, they disperse and are everywhere around where those homeless shelters are. And that, I think, is a potential concern. It's certainly for me in what neighborhoods, what businesses are going to have to deal with something that they're not having to currently deal with. And so for those reasons, I have to object to the approval. So,
And if I may, listen, we all agree with you that where a facility goes is going to be a challenge for this entire council. The object here is not to build a traditional shelter. If you come to the facility we build, you have to agree to stay there and get treated. This is going to be a holistic approach where you're going to get treated for your drug addictions, your mental illness. You can be provided return to work training and temporary housing. So maybe the word shelter is not the proper word. Maybe it's a homeless treatment center. The purpose of this is we already have $3.6 million in the bank. We have some 400 people living on our streets. We all think that that's not a good view, a good vision for our parish. We need to have an opportunity and an ability to take those dollars and treat these individuals and get them back into society. Now, I wholeheartedly agree with you. Where that facility is going to go is going to be the biggest challenge. So my goal here is to have these subject matter experts, which I am not, tell us how big of a facility, how many beds, what type of treatment services do we need to provide there. Obviously, there's going to be counseling rooms, there's going to be medical treatment rooms, a kitchen, bedrooms, all that. So that's the only goal here, is to get those subject matter experts into one room and tell us that. So then we can then look and say, is there a proper place in Jefferson Parish to put one, and where is that place? So that's just the discussion I want to have. This committee in no way establishes a location of a shelter. And that, like I said, I don't believe it should be a true shelter in the form that we all think of that you see in New Orleans, but more of a treatment facility, a return to life facility.
Councilman Template?
Yes, and on that same note, maybe we can make an amendment, Councilman Bonanno, to where it's basically that we're looking at a board to look at the issue as a holistic issue instead of looking at a facility itself. Because, look, there's a lot of faith-based groups out there and organizations that can step up and we can talk to and look at accommodating the issues we need for the homelessness and the needy in Jefferson Parish. And maybe it's not that the verbiage says that we're looking for a place to put a facility, is that we are looking at how we can help and address the homelessness through this committee. I don't know if that would relieve any issues, because instead of saying it's a facility, we're looking for a place in Jefferson Parish that we're looking at an option to address the homelessness and mental capabilities of some of the citizens on our streets.
Councilman Lee?
Yes, in the spirit of what he's proposing, I mean, I support it. We've been kicking this issue down the road for many years. If you recall, 3 years ago, I think within our second council meeting, we had delegations here who came to talk about homelessness and the fact that we needed to come up with some solution to remedy it. And certainly, as you all know, and as you can see all across this parish, it's gotten worse. And so, I know that NIMBYism exists, and no one wants it in their backyard. I understand that, but the reality is that I think the rightful step here is to be able to move forward to bring in those type of people who've been working with this population, that understands not only their perhaps can help and assist them with not only their homelessness issues, but also their psychological problems that exist as well. We do not want to see what we see when we cross the bridge. And I think what this is about is making sure that we don't see that type of stuff. And that, so it may not be one building, it may be more than one building, because certainly that has been floated as well. But whatever we do, we need to do it in a way where we've done our due diligence, and that we can find some happy medium, because nobody likes to see what we see. But the reality is, if we do nothing, it's going to just continue to get worse.
Mr. Impastato, is there some language that would make you more comfortable?
I mean, and I respect everything everybody's saying. It's the ultimate, to me, we get to the end goal. And to me, no matter what the end goal is, if the end result is putting you can call it a treatment facility, you can call it a homeless shelter, I think we still get to the ultimate question: where's it going to go? Absolutely. What neighborhood's willing to take it? What district does it go in? Is it Old Metairie? Is it Bucktown? Is it Kenner? Is it Harahan? Is it, and I don't believe the citizens in Jefferson Parish and the businesses are prepared to deal with what comes from it. And so that's my concern. Listen, I'm not lobbying votes. I'm just stating my position, and I respect that. And I certainly don't believe in kicking the can down the road. And look, and I can tell you, we've all been part of. I mean, I initiated a meeting that, in conjunction with Parish President Lee Sheng, back in November when we met, and you were there. I think most of the people in this room were there, with the sheriff to address it. As the news reported today, we've taken steps at this level, including the administrative changes with code. So, I mean, I think we're doing a lot of things to try and rectify the problem within what the Constitution allows. My concern is everything centered around the building of. I mean, look, we had items deferred today for the building of a privatized temporary drug and alcohol treatment facility because it was down the street from Stonebridge neighborhood on the West Bank, because the citizens are so petrified of what comes with it. And my fear is wherever this comes, wherever this would go, I believe our citizens and our businesses will be absolutely petrified of the consequences. By our own admission, these are, we believe, or at least the experts tell us, these are mentally ill predominantly, drug users, alcohol abusers. So we're basically putting them and giving them the attractive nuisance to congregate and be. And I just think that's a burden that I don't believe. I think we could put our resources, look, are there alternatives? I'm sure there's lots of alternatives. Is it put our money and resources in facilities that already exist elsewhere? Is it, and I don't know what those alternatives are. My whole concern has to do with the parish building and housing a facility for that. That's my concern. And so, I didn't intend to talk again. I really didn't.
No.
And
Do you have a problem
me
with
ask you-
deferring this?
No.
Let me ask something for clarification, too, because my interpretation, Councilman Bonanno, was that this could potentially, a facility be located in an industrial area.
Correct.
It would be a facility that you're not coming and going from.
No.
You're dropped off or you arrive there and you stay there. So you're not
No.
entering and leaving at any point except when
I
you
would-
get
I
there
would
and then when
support
you're
that.
treated and you leave.
Right. I would not support a facility where you're going to come and spend the night, get a meal, and then leave in the morning. That's
So
not-
this would be a full-fledged facility that you check into and you check out of when you're quote unquote recovered or you've been treated to the
And
extent.
it may not, listen, the door's wide open. So this is just an exploratory committee that tells us, hey, what do we need to do? There are so many organizations out there that currently provide different services to the homeless population, but they're scattered. So we need to put them all in one room and say, okay, guys, you guys do this every day. We don't. Tell us what we need.
Do you have a problem with a motion to defer?
Maybe for one meeting.
Oh, no, that's fine.
I think we're unified in the concern, and so maybe just vetting the language a little bit will allow us to get
Absolutely.
to something we're all comfortable with. Because I think the other thing we worry about, or I know I worry about, sometimes entities at the church level or the community level are best able to address things, and it's not always government. So I hate to see us create another structure when we might have organizations who can meet the needs if we support them instead of creating something
Oh,
different. So-
absolutely. And there are 2 spots on here for religious organizations as well as 2 spots for nonprofits. And each of the cities of the parish have a spot as well.
I think the bottom line here is that 100 homeless pre-COVID became 400, could become 800 if we don't do something. So
we can't
this
keep
council
kicking
is committed to doing something, and we will do something as soon as we get it right the next meeting.
Let's move to the next meeting, Miss. We'll move to defer to the May meeting.
All right. Is there anybody else? I'm
5/17.
sorry.
May 17th.
17th. Is there any objection to the deferral of item number 14 to our May 17th meeting on motion of Councilman Bonanno, seconded by Councilman Walker? Hearing none, so ordered.